afternoon, everybody. Good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome to the Hit the Pick Founders Show, Sweet 16 edition. It's great to be here. My name is Scott Steamroller Steen. Of course, I'm joined by two of my usual guests, but we're also excited to bring in a first-timer. And when you talk about somebody that literally wrote the book on college basketball, you're talking about this guy. It's Mark Miller. Mark has a book coming out. In fact, it came out about 2 weeks ago, Mark? Pretty close?
10 days ago.
Yeah. There you go. It's called The Magnificent Seven College Basketball Blue Bloods. Mark, how are you doing this evening? Thanks very much for joining the show.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks again for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to break down these games that are coming up. Guys, I want you to know, Mark wrote about the Blue Bloods of college basketball, and there's 7 of them. I want to see how you guys do, and we have not done this in advance. Tom and Wes, can you guys name the 7 teams?
We got Kentucky,
Kansas,
Duke, UNC, UConn. UConn's the blue blood, right? You said Kansas already.
I'm taking no questions this time.
Villanova? No.
Oh, so close.
It's more of a navy blue.
You think think a little longer in the past for their success. Neither one of them are still in the tournament.
I'll give you a hint. You have to have won at least 4 titles over at least 3 decades.
There you go. There you go. Anybody at all?
I think you're missing 2, I think.
One of the big ones.
UCLA?
There you go. There you go.
And this one is easy to miss.
Uno Mas, boys.
They've been in the toilet for quite some time.
Midwest, kind of calling on hard times lately. Throwing chairs in Puerto Rico.
Haven't won a title in almost 40 years.
Ooh. How about Indiana, guys? How about Indiana?
I guess that makes sense.
There you go. Who's your daddy? And these 2 guys that did almost, what is this, 6 out of 7? You got like an 80 on the quiz. Okay, that's not bad. Let's meet him. It's Vegas's newest resident, coming to us from his palatial estate there once again. It is Sniper Wes. Sniper Wes, what's up, buddy?
Well, you say my palatial estate. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm in my closet right now.
Excellent.
This does here. I'll even show you. I got my clothes hanging. I had to push all my clothes on this end, so it looks like I have a professional studio behind me.
Outstanding.
But I do have the Dan Patrick Show calendar right here. They're wearing it says Weston. I'm not sure. It actually kind of looks like a Blue Bud basketball jersey, but thought it might be a nice little touch there too. I have Dodger Stadium behind me. I don't know if you can see that. I got that gray sports almanac right there, which proves that I know all the outcomes to games, right? Just like
1985, or 2015, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, buddy. All right, so let's talk with a guy that isn't using any kind of magic book to get his predictions correct. I mean, he's getting ready to go on vacation. We're going to try to keep him focused here for another 45 minutes or so. It's Tom Macrina, Mr. Rye Cape, if you're nasty. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm kind of mad I can't fit in my closet. But yeah, I'm ready for this weekend. We have a whole bunch of stuff started up.
Outstanding. So on that list of 7 blue bloods, we got 2 left. We got 2 left on there. We have the one and only Duke, and we also have, surprisingly, Kentucky on that list as well. So let's fire it up with the Thursday games. We got 4 Thursday games: BYU, Alabama, Maryland, Florida, Arizona, Duke, and Arkansas and Texas Tech. Let's just take them in chronological order here. We'll talk about how about a little BYU, Alabama. Mark, you're the guest. You're the visitor. We'll let you have a first crack at this. What are you thinking about this game?
Oh boy, Alabama. Every time I watch them, they don't impress me very much. But I like Alabama.
Is it their lack of defense that you have most of the problem with? The fact they just really can't stop anybody?
I think that's part of it. Yeah. Same with Auburn. I mean, every time I watch Auburn, they stink.
Yeah, two SEC teams with terrific defenses that really have a hard time stopping teams. Snipe, we've got this listed at BYU plus 5.5. Now, this is a team that the Storm and Mormons, when they get hot from 3-point land, they can play with anybody. The problem is they're not hot all the time. What are you thinking about this game? By the way, total a mere 175.5. Wes, are you jumping all over that over?
You know, it's funny. You said the Mormons. So I stayed in Salt Lake City maybe about 20 years ago for about a week with a buddy of mine. And so I bought a shirt. This is so funny. I wish I still had it. It said Salt Lake City, a small little drinking town with a Mormon problem.
Nice. Nice. I'm surprised that shirt wasn't outlawed. Very good.
Yeah, no kidding. Right.
So what are you thinking?
Yeah, I like Bama here. So obviously they got blown out by Florida. That was a conference championship, but Florida's really good, right? So I'm not going to fault them for that. Their losses this year have not been terrible. They lost to Auburn, they lost to Purdue, they lost to Ole Miss, they lost to Florida, who are all Sweet 16 teams. So they're not terrible losses. And Nato, it's a lot of people like to hate on Nato, but I think he's a good head coach, man. I think he's going to have this team up. I think they're going to play well. The public, believe it or not, is actually up on BYU. A lot of people are betting BYU, but BYU, they're going to have to shoot lights out. They're going to have to run with Bama if they, want to win this game. But Bama laying points here, I think that's the way to go. I'm going to lay the points here with Alabama.
Okay.
The line's moving around too, by the way. I think it's heading toward Alabama still.
Yeah, I think it opened. I read it opened at 6.5, and they bet it down to 5.5. But we could see some buyback coming there because you've got some juicy 5.5s. You want to touch that total at all? You want to touch that 175.5?
I mean, I'd probably have to go over because if BYU has a chance to win this game, it has to go over because they're going to have to run with Bama. They're not going to be able to slow Bama down. So it's got to go over if BYU, has a chance to win this game, in my opinion. I
think that's fair. I think that's absolutely accurate. You're not going to slow down Alabama. You're just not going to do it. That's not the way to beat them. Tommy, what do you think here?
Yeah, BYU's actually been a good team to me this season. I bet on them a lot, so I really don't want to take a side, but I do like that over. Both teams, they get high into the 80s. Even when Alabama loses, when they lost to Florida, I think they gave up 102. So, I see a lot of scoring here. I think both teams could actually get it in the 90s.
Well, yeah, this is an Alabama team that for the entire season averaged 91 points a game and gave up 81. So their average game is 172. So, and when you're giving up 81 points, remember that included giving up 54 to UNC Asheville, 64 to McNeese, and 54 to Kent State. So when you factor them in, it's pretty impressive. And they are down there on the list. They're 346 in points surrendered. They're down there in MEAC and NEC and MAC territory. That's the most by any tournament team, by the way, by a lot. The next closest team is Kentucky. It ranks 307th in points given up. So far in this tournament, they hung 90 on Bobby Morris, and they hung 80 on St. Mary's. 80 on St. Mary's. Yeah, you go, well, that's not that impressive. Well, remember, it's the only time this season the Gales have given up 80 or better. The other side, BYU's played to the over in both games. They played Wisconsin. That game landed 180. And Wisconsin is a team that's 12th in offensive efficiency, but 146th in tempo. Now they get Bama, that's 4th in offense and 1st in tempo. And as you mentioned, this is a team, Tom, that can make some threes. They are number 7 in the nation in made threes. And last game, they made 12, as did the Badgers. So, by the way, Alabama not too far down on that list either, number 16 at made threes. I think it seems like an outrageous total, 175.5, especially in the tournament. But here's the deal. Alabama has eclipsed in 8 of their last 12, and BYU has put up some big numbers on some very good tournament teams. Put up, besides the 91 against Wisconsin, they played Iowa State. They gave up 88 to Iowa State, 96 to Arizona, 93 to Baylor. I'm with you guys on the over on this one. That's probably my favorite play, gun to my head as far as the side goes. I think Alabama covers in scramble time at the end. I really do. I think BYU may be able to keep it close, but I think they pull away, maybe even in the last minute. So, all right, there you go. Let's move along, shall we? The next up on our list is going to be Maryland and Florida. I like this Florida team. I took them to win on a lot of my brackets, and they're still alive. But Maryland's been playing some awfully good basketball. Wes, break this one down for us.
Well, Florida, has won 8 games in a row, and the over has actually hit 9 straight games. So if you are looking at the total here, 9 straight games, Florida's gone over the total.
Yeah, 6.5, 157.5, by the way, if you're scoring at home.
So Florida, great covering team. They were 26-10 ATS on the year, 7-3 in their last 10 as far as against the spread goes. They have won 27 games by 11 points or more this year as well. And the Gators have played 9 teams that are actually still in the Sweet 16, right? Obviously, because they're in the SEC and there's SEC teams, left in the Sweet 16. But they are 7-2 straight up and against the spread in those 9 games. So I do like Florida here. Walter Clayton, who does have a pretty good last name, might I add. Obviously, he's going to be a lottery pick. And I like Florida. I'm going to lay with Florida here. And I probably like the over too, just based on that trend. I'd probably go over too. Florida and the over for me.
Okay. You're going to lay the 6.5 and play the over 156.5. All right. Tom, is Wes getting square on us, or are those solid plays?
Yeah, I don't know how much I like either side, but if I had to lean, I'd go with Florida. I do like the over here. Both of these teams like to run fast. I expect a lot of scoring here.
Okay. All right. Mark, you got an opinion on the Maryland-Florida game? What are you thinking on this one?
Florida's incredible. I didn't see the UConn thing. I mean, I was surprised the UConn really gave them a struggle.
Well, yeah, the Huskies kind of showed the way to at least be competitive, if not beat the Gators. They jammed up the middle, and they made the guards take really most of the shots. The 3 big men in the middle for the Gators scored just 18 points. The good news is their guards shot 47.4% from downtown, went 9 for 19. But this is a Terrapins team that's 14th in the country in 3-point defense. So if they can jam up the middle like UConn did, they may have a shot. But I'm like you. I like this Florida team. Now, Mark, how much credence do you put, or how much value do you put on a team coming out of a tough conference? Obviously, if you're coming out of the SEC, you're playing good teams really just about every night, as long as you're not
a lot. I mean, I think it was warranted 14 teams out of the SEC.
Yeah, you had some early losses like with Mizzou and things like that. But man, when you look at how many of the Sweet 16, what do they got? 9 SEC teams? How many? You guys know? I know I heard it.
7, I believe.
7.
Yeah,
the other way around. Okay.
But I mean, it's extraordinary. Auburn, what Auburn did, in terms of this year, 16 quad 1 win. I mean, ridiculous. No, I like Florida in that game, definitely.
All right. Guys, I'm going to be a little contrarian here. I like Maryland plus the 6.5. I think this is every year you get one of those teams that kind of come out of nowhere. Oftentimes they're in the middle of a pack of a good conference. And this year, I think we've got 2 candidates, and they're both playing on Thursday. One of them is Maryland, and the other one is Arkansas. Just those no apparent reason teams that get hot at the right time. And not only do they cover, but they win the game outright. So I'm not calling for a Maryland victory, but they've been very good defending beyond the arc. First 2 opponents, obviously not the quality of Florida because few teams are. Those first 2 opponents shot 21.7% and 23.8% from downtown. That impresses me. I'll take Maryland plus the 6.5. Why not be a contrarian?
What is a terrapin? Is that a turtle?
It's a gigantic turtle. Yes, that's right.
The way I handicap games, I just look at the mascots. If it were a gator and a turtle fighting, the gator would for sure win. So that's my thought process behind the whole.
So would you lay 6.5 terrapins? So could he get past 6.5 terrapins before the terrapins got him? You got to factor.
I don't know. Probably pop his head back in a shell before that happened.
That half terrapin.
Right. I mean, yeah. If you want to just take the terrapins, you're going to lay 270, man. Or you take the gators, you're laying 270, man. So, yeah, I don't know. Okay. So let's talk about a couple of teams that neither one are in the SEC. So that's kind of surprising in and of itself. It's Arizona and the Dukies. Duke laying 9.5, 153.5 is the number. Man, there's some monster totals out there. The lowest total, 148.5, and everything else is $153 or better. including that 175 we were talking about earlier. Wes, Duke laying 9.5. They haven't cared how many points they've been laying lately. I was talking to my son the other day. I said, this is a team because he has Arizona. He's that pot I told you guys about that pays $5,000 to win. He's in third right now. So Arizona is one of the teams he needs, as is Arkansas. And I told him I think he's in trouble because that Duke team, man, they haven't played like a bad 10-minute stretch in the entire tournament, let alone a bad half or a bad game. They have looked on it from the beginning to the end of the game. Wes, tell me why Arizona has a chance here.
Well, I mean, they want to push the pace, and I do like the over here. It's I think 153.5. I just saw.
Yep.
So Arizona's going to have to run. So Duke is going to want to slow the pace down a little bit. They're outside the top 250 and adjust the tempo. So Arizona, to be honest with you, I think that any chance they have to win this game, they kind of have to run, to be honest. The Wildcats, they scored 93 and 87 in their first two tournament games. Duke does play to the over, even though they like to slow the pace down. They are 7-3 to the over in their last 10 games. But I think it's going to be a barn burner. I think Arizona can bark here. Maybe Duke does pull away late and they cover late, but I think it's going to be a close game all the way, maybe until 5 minutes left in the game. I think Arizona pushes the pace. They want to push the pace. They want to make Duke run. They want to make Duke uncomfortable. Give me the over here, over 153.5. I think it's a high-scoring game.
Very good. Thomas?
I disagree. I think we're going to see a blowout here. These teams actually played earlier in the season, right before Thanksgiving. Duke was a 2-point dog. They won 69-55. So, but yeah, Duke's strength is 3-point shooting. Arizona doesn't defend that. Arizona really doesn't shoot threes offensively either. I think this game's going to get out of hand pretty quickly. I like Duke.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Mark, this is your first chance to talk about a blue blood. Are they going to be blue-blooded up in this one?
I'm counting on Duke because over the last 40 years, there's been only 3 years where one of the blue bloods has not been in the Final Four. So Duke is my bet to keep that streak going.
Very good, very good. And you mind laying the 9.5? You think Duke blows them out?
I think there's a pretty good chance of that. Yeah.
All right, very good.
They are amazing.
Yeah, I'm with the last two guys here. This is a Duke team that really has again shown no flaws at all in the tournament. They could have a letdown at some point, but until they do, I'm going to ride them. This is an Arizona team that's just gone 6-7 ATS their last 13. They needed a perfect finish against Oregon to cover that 3.5. If you watch the end of that game, really probably shouldn't have covered that, but they did. But I think they're just on a different level. This is Arizona team, good story. But Duke, I think this is one of the all-timers with Cooper Flag. I like him to cover the number here as well. All right, so
you guys are forgetting you're forgetting my thought process though. I think a Wildcat can do some damage to a Blue Devil.
A blue is a devil, Wes. It's a devil. There's no chance. No, the Devils.
It's a Blue Devil, so it's not as bad as the Red Devils.
Bad as the Red Devil. Okay, fair enough. All right, last game on Thursday. A little battle of the teams down there in the South, the Southwest, whatever you call it. Fayetteville, Arkansas meets Lubbock, Texas, as Arkansas and Texas Tech get together. Texas Tech, 5.5-point favorites, and the number there is 148.5. Wes, you've got a Red Raider who guns up and all that against the Razorbacks, the really mean ass hog. It ain't like Babe. If you're thinking Babe or Wilbur from Charlotte's Web, no, these are mean ass wild hogs that can cause major problems. Wes,
yes,
who do you like?
So, Adu Thiero, there's some talk about Adu Thiero coming back here. He averages 15 points a game for Arkansas, so that's pretty big if he can come back and play. I heard somewhere on SportsCenter that said that he's likely going to play. So that's a big deal for Arkansas, and I do like Arkansas here. I think they can hang tough. Arkansas is 7-2-1 against the number in their last 10 games. They have won, obviously, outright as a dog 2 times now. Calipari's got a lot of experience. And at Texas Tech, they're 1-3 against the number of their last 4 games. And, getting these points with Arkansas, it's not a bad idea. I've always thought that the 5.5 line, if there's a plus 5.5 dog, it's indicative of a dog being active. I feel the same way in football. If I see a football dog plus 5.5, college or NFL, I'm always looking to back the dog. Just that line right there, 5.5, it just always makes me think the dog's going to bark.
Definitely.
I like Arkansas. I like Arkansas. I think they're going to hang tough here versus Texas Tech. Although I do have Texas Tech in the championship game against Duke, but I do think Arkansas is going to bark.
Okay, very good. Mr. Rye Cape, what do you say?
Yeah, I do not think that. I think this is going to be another blowout. Both of our late games are going to be blowouts. I don't know how Arkansas is going to score. This is a much better defense than they've seen really for a while, since Tennessee, I guess. And Texas Tech is going to be able to do whatever they want offensively. I don't think they're going to stop them. They're a great 3-point shooting team. They're a great free throw shooting team. I like Texas Tech to win this big.
All right. I hate to be that guy, Tom, but they did just take on the second best defense in college basketball in St. John's and beat them by double digits. So just saying, as far as the defense goes.
Yeah, well, all right. Well, St. John's is they're not a good offensive team.
No, and
Texas Tech is much better offensively.
This if you want to build the wall, that was the game to do it, because those teams were dreadful. St. John's shot 22 for 22 from long range and 28% from the field. That ain't going to win you many tournament games at all, ever. That ain't going to win you many first round games. But Arkansas went 2 for 19 from deep, but they pounded the ball inside, hit their mid-range jumpers, and shot 57% from 2-point range. So, yeah, that was the advantage there. What say you, Mark?
Well, I'm conflicted here. I've been a St. John's fan for over 60 years, and that hurt.
I was really high on that team. I really was high on that St. John's team. I thought they would.
Yeah, well, in New York, I mean, they were the story, and it's been one for me. I mean, it's been 30 years in the desert. Most of those years in the desert, except for a couple of years with Mike Jarvis. But I like Calipari. I can't help it.
Right.
I just think he's a great coach, but I think I probably would go with Texas Tech. Yeah.
Okay. I think we're gonna split this up, because I'm gonna go. I like Arkansas too. I think Arkansas is battle tested. It's another team from the SEC that played great teams every night. They showed they were able to step up and take care of business against St. John's. Again, a team that I was really high on. So I like them to keep it going. I'll take Arkansas plus 5.5, and maybe even dare I say it, sneak out the upset here. So all right. So that'll do it. What's that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I would sprinkle some on the money. I agree with that too. I would sprinkle some on the money line. I really like Arkansas here.
Yeah, what's our price? Plus 180. Almost getting 2. You're getting yeah. I'll take that all day. Very good. Getting a little 9 to 5 action on that. Yes, sir. All right, let's move on to Friday, shall we? Ole Miss and Michigan State is the early game. Michigan State, small favorite there, 3.5 points, and 143.5 is your total. Raise your hand if you thought Mississippi would be this far. I did not. Wes, did you see Ole Miss coming?
Probably not, but they're playing very well, and I do like them here. In fact, this is probably going to be a premium play, to be honest with you,
Okay.
as well as the next game we're going to talk about too. I really like the next game, the Kentucky-Tennessee game. But Michigan State, they've been a very slow starter, and I've been pounding those first half unders with Michigan State, and they have been winning. A lot of it has to do with they just struggle with the three-point shot. They don't take a lot of threes, but they don't make a lot either. So it's just hard to run the score up, right? But all that being said, the Spartans are 9-1 against the number of their last 10 games. So they are making their backers money. They're 24-10-1 on the season against the spread. A great head coaching matchup here too, Izzo and Beard, right? But I do like Ole Miss. The Rebels, they beat BYU in San Diego. They beat Alabama. They beat Louisville by 23 points. They beat Arkansas 2 times. They beat Tennessee. They beat Colorado State. A lot of impressive wins. So they're not scared of anybody. They don't turn the ball over either. Give me the Rebels. I think in fact, I probably just might release this as money line Ole Miss. I really like Ole Miss in this spot.
Okay, plus 145 is your money line price there. And yeah, if there's a knock on Michigan State, it's the fact that number one, they're not very good at shooting 3-pointers, and number two, they don't take many. They just take 19 per game. They go 6 for 19, 31%. That is not ideal at all. Good free throw shooting team, but yeah, the advantage for me could be the rebounding. This is an Ole Miss team that doesn't rebound particularly well. So if Michigan State gets some second chance points, it could get funky. Tom, what do you see this happening?
I guess they had the same problem with Iowa State and handled them pretty well. But yeah, I'm with Wes here. Ole Miss is a team that like to have a lot of possessions, run quick. I think they're going to be able to do this against Michigan State, a team who you said isn't great offensively. I think like St. John's last weekend, Michigan State's offense, they're going to meet their match.
It dooms them. All right, very good. Mark, Tom Izzo, veteran coach, been here, done that.
That's it. Eight trips to the Final Four, I believe.
Eight trips to the Final Four. Is he going to have another one this year? How do you see this one playing out?
I would not bet against that. I've only seen them play once or twice. And who did Ole Miss beat in the last round?
Iowa State.
They beat Iowa State by 13. They controlled that game all the way through.
Yeah, that doesn't impress me too much. I'm going to go with Michigan State.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of conflicted on this one because this is an Ole Miss team that I'd kind of written off, and they played North Carolina, and that was a team that I thought was peaking at the right time, and that game was not nearly as competitive as the final score of 71-64 would indicate. They pretty much controlled that game from the tip to the buzzer, and then they were able to get past Iowa State by 13, another team that I thought was way good, and they were 5.5-point dogs in that one, so they're not afraid to be a dog. But Wes, you brought up the great fact, Michigan State 9-1 against the spread over the last 10 games. As the kids say, that ain't nothing. So, and included in that stretch is covered 17 against a pretty good shooting Bryant team. Only loss in that stretch was a 3-point loss to Wisconsin. Hey, you know what? Give me the points. Give me the points. I think Ole Miss is able to keep it close. Again, could be one of those teams that sneak in, but it's a real dogfight for me. It could come down to the last couple minutes, and we'll see what happens in scramble time and who's got the shots there. All right, next game up is going to be the Kentucky-Tennessee game, the little SEC battle there. This is where the seeds of hell is the 2 and the 3 are getting together. Tennessee 4.5-point favorites, 144.5. Now we're seeing numbers a little more like we're used to. Michigan State game 142.5. By the way, this one's 144.5. Wes, this Tennessee team's been awful good all year. Kentucky, good team, been inconsistent. Are they peaking at the right time?
You know, it's very interesting with Kentucky and Arkansas, with, Cal going to Arkansas and Pope coming to Kentucky. When I heard that, I just thought it was crazy that Cal would leave Kentucky to go to Arkansas. But it's really worked out fantastically for both programs. I think you guys would agree with me on that.
Hard to argue with the results, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's worked out for all parties involved. It's rare you see a trade, not necessarily a trade, but just a move like that, and it works out for both programs. But anyway, so I love Kentucky here, okay? I love Kentucky to win the game. They've already beaten the Volunteers twice this year. They have Kentucky has covered both their games. Obviously, they won both games, but they were underdogs both times. They were an underdog 12 times this year, and they were 8-4 against the spread with 7 outright wins. Those 12 times they were an underdog. Okay, Tennessee's offense can be stagnant at times. Let me tell you something. Rick Barnes, good guy. I hate him as a coach. He's in my opinion, he's just not my favorite coach. He finds ways to blow games. In 8 Sweet 16 games, he is 4-4, and he is 1-2 in the last 3. So, prime opportunity for Rick Barnes to do Rick Barnes things. I'm rolling with Kentucky. Give me the Wildcats. I think they win the game.
Okay. All right. He has planted his flag firmly in Lexington, Kentucky. Tom, are you going to rally around it, or are you going the other way?
Yeah, I like Kentucky too. they've actually covered the last 5 as a dog against Tennessee. So the reasons they lost both of those games was because they couldn't score. I think they're going to have the same problem here. I love this Tennessee defense. I just think Kentucky gets it done.
My favorite drinking game this time of year, watch any prediction show and take a shot every time somebody says, it's really hard to beat somebody 3 times in the same season. Guess what? It's not. It's not a thing. So, yeah. So, Mark, this is your second blue blood here. This is another blue blood that we're talking about. Kentucky, the days of Adolph Rupp, et cetera, et cetera. Playing against a pretty good Tennessee team. Who do you like in this one?
I'm with the sniper picks. Rick Barnes, he pretty much stalls out about this time. When I've seen Kentucky, I've seen them a couple times. They've looked really good. I know they've been inconsistent, but I like Kentucky.
Yeah, it is just hard to back Barnes in this situation. Mark, I know in writing the book you talked about a lot of great coaches. Can you put a percentage on how much value you think a coach has at this time of the season in the tournament? What percentage does a great coach versus an average or below average coach make?
I think a lot. I can't put a number on it, but I mean, yeah, all the blue bloods have been at one time or another have been coached by great coaches.
Right.
You just go, Bobby Knight and Wooden and just on and on and Dean Smith and Clark Allen. Where do you start? And I think that's a big reason why they've won 45, titles.
So, that's right. They've won 45 of what, 89?
45 of 85. So
45 and 80 of 85. That's right.
But if you go back to 1950,
57%.
They've won close to 60%.
Yep. Yep.
That's phenomenal. And I don't know, great coaches did that.
And so conversely, does it work in the opposite direction? If you have a coach like Rick Barnes that has a reputation and well-deserved of having good teams, but for lack of a better term, choking when you get to this point in the tournament, does that matter? Does having a below-average coach seemingly
but
work against you?
Yeah, well, I hate to say, big thing at Carolina is if you go back to the first 20-odd years of Dean Smith, what was his reputation?
Couldn't win the big one.
Couldn't win the big one. I mean, it was nonsense. He was in how many 6, 7 Final Fours?
Right.
And he said himself that being in the Final Four 6 times is a lot more impressive than winning one title.
I would have to agree with that.
But Rick Barnes is, I've just not been a fan.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I'm probably going to go with the room here. I think these are two teams that know each other very well. Kentucky has shown that they know how to beat them. And I think it was Wes that said this Tennessee offense, they've been inconsistent, man. You can't count on the defense has mostly been good all season, been very good all season. But if you can't score, you're not going to win. That's just a tip for you guys there for if you're new to betting on college basketball. Teams that don't score usually don't win. You're welcome. Okay, so let's move on down the line. We got 2 games left. This is a Michigan team, the number 5 seed going against the number 1 seed in Auburn. Auburn laying a big number with Jahani Broom, laying 9.5. 53.5 is the number. Wes, Michigan, are they just happy to be here, or are they going to bear down and make a run and surprise some people?
Well, they're definitely happy to be here for sure. The thing about this game is the line is just getting a little out of control. It's up to 9.5 at some shops. I think it opened at 7.5 at FanDuel. So it's kind of like if you wanted Auburn, you could have got them at 7.5. Why are you going to lay 9.5 now? So I'm just a little bit conflicted because I do like Auburn. But the public too, because I follow some consensus polls as far as, ticket count and money count. And, one poll I follow has Auburn getting 37% of tickets. But another one has them getting 62% of tickets. So, I mean, who do you believe? I don't know.
Well, how much of the money are they getting?
That's a good question too. I could probably actually find out right now.
Okay. And I'm always skeptical of those because no casino is releasing their actual data. So what you've got is you've got people on site saying, yeah, I'm betting this on this game or whatever. And some of it's fairly accurate, but you're not like, well, unless you're listening to the sportsbook manager of Circa or something laying out the numbers. I'm always a little, and like you just showed, you got 25% difference between two different sites. So what do you believe?
Yeah, so I mean, VSiN does a pretty good job. I don't know how accurate VSiN's polls are, but VSiN has one, and maybe it's accurate, maybe it's not. But one of them I follow here has 62% of the tickets on Auburn, 62% of the tickets on the over. As far as the money, 64% of the money on Auburn, and 58% of the money on the under. There,
okay, so there's a little value on the under, perhaps maybe some sharp money on the under, but the tickets and the money are pretty much holding the same.
But Michigan, they're here because they rebound the ball, right? And it kind of just seems like the ball has been bouncing their way. It just seems like every rebound comes right into, they have the Twin Towers there in the middle.
Right.
But they can lose the ball and play sloppy offensively sometimes too. They have covered 5 games in a row to their credit, though. And I want to roll with Auburn. I just hate getting the worst of the number. This might go to 10 too, to be honest with you. If this goes to 10, I don't want to take Michigan, so I'm probably just gonna have to pass. But it's just kind of one of those things where I can't lay 9.5 when I could have got 7.5. It's just not in my conscience to do it.
Well, and that's not a bad strategy because you're giving up more than 25% of the value that you would have had at 7.5 going to 9.5. So yeah, there's a thing about sometimes you just got to lay off. Sometimes the best bet you make is the best bet is the one you don't make. And I think that could be true here if you're interested in backing the Tigers, because again, 2 points from 7.5 to 9.5 is a significant difference. By the way, we have a Tiger and a Wolverine. I like the Tigers odds in that one. Wolverine, not a very nice animal, but there's just one of them. So Tiger, yeah, you take care of your ass there. Tommy, what say you?
Yeah, I think it's a big number too. I usually go with the dogs here, but I actually like Auburn. Offensively, they match up so much better. They're a bigger team, stronger team, faster team. They don't turn the ball over. They spread the ball all over the floor. I think Michigan is going to have trouble, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm the same way. I think 9.5 is a lot, but I can't take Michigan.
Okay. All right. Very good. Mark, Michigan, Auburn, we're going to see an upset here?
No, Michigan is a nice story. No question about it. But Auburn, they are good.
That's
I don't see much weakness. I don't see any weakness there.
Okay. All right. Very solid. And they took care of a pretty darn good Creighton team that was playing some good basketball. They beat them by 12, covering, not coincidentally, 9 points. So this is an Auburn team that can definitely play a little bit. But on the other side of the ledger, you've got a Michigan team that covered the number against UC San Diego, which I thought that was a ridiculous number. The Tritons were a great story. As far as straight up wins and covering the spread there. I think they were the best team or second best team against the number in the league in college basketball this year. But making that 2, I thought was a little bit silly. And it almost ended up not being silly as Michigan had a comfortable lead and then ended up winning by 3. So they did cover, but I didn't look like quite the genius that I thought I was. But the next game was even more impressive. They played against a great defensive team in Texas A&M and scored 91 points, man. So I'll step out. And I'll be one of those guys that is happy that the line has moved that way. I'll gobble up the Wolverines plus 9.5. I'll play contrarian again. We need our lone wolf graphic. I didn't even think about having Ryan sitting with the lone wolf ready to go. All right, so let's talk about one last game here. This is going to be Purdue and Houston. Purdue all of a sudden thinking it's 2024, and they're back in the Sweet 16 again. They're a 4 seed. Houston is the Uno seed, of course, in that region. 7.5 point favorites are the Cougs. And Here's a pre-shot clock total for you. How about 132.5 in this one? Wes, who you like?
Yeah, so I'm probably I do like the Cougars, but I think I like the under a little bit more. It's funny. You guys probably do you remember Tony Bennett and the Virginia Cavaliers? I think they were putting up like 120s or something as far as the totals.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. You'd see 110s, 118, 117. 100%.
Yeah. It was crazy, and they would still go under. I couldn't believe it, but it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that with Houston. You know, they're 16-22 the under this year, and obviously, why is that? Because they're the number one defense in the nation. They only allow 58 points per game, so you're going to see a lot of unders. And you know, the Bucks are they're caught in a tough situation because how low do you go, right?
Right.
So I like the first half under for sure. I think I like Houston for the game. I think this line is going to head toward 8.5. Maybe even 9. You never know. But if you like Houston, you probably better grab them now. Kind of very similar to the last game we discussed, Auburn. I mean, you could have got Auburn at 7.5. I mean, you can get Houston now. You can get them at 8 before they go to 8.5, maybe higher. Or are they 7.5?
I've got them at 7.5. FanDuel has them at 7.5, juiced up to 122. So
I don't think
it just came down off of 8.
Yeah, I don't think it's heading toward
Purdue.
Purdue. Yeah, I don't think it's going to head toward Purdue. I think it's going to head more toward Houston. So if you like Houston, I would get in now.
Okay.
I think first half under is the play here. And I'll give you guys some betting 101. And you guys know this just for the public who's listening. I like to go in basketball, even football. I like to go, if I'm going to take an under, I go first half under because I don't get got in overtime, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I like an over in the game, I always go full game over because overtime can help me. It's just kind of one of my little betting theories. You like the under, go first half under. You like the over, go full game over.
Yeah, that's not bad because you've got not only do you have the possibility of overtime, but you've got scramble time there at the end, man. When we start Foul Fest in the last 90 seconds or so, and man, you can put up some serious numbers. I had a game, the Mizzou Kentucky game was 27 points short with 2.5 minutes left, and it got there. So. And that was not necessarily a close game. That was like a 7-8 point game the whole way. But and the other rule is the further you get in the season, the more likely they are to keep fouling, even if they're 7 or 8 points down with 20 seconds left. They'll whatever little glimmer of hope they have, they will continue to exploit that for sure. Tommy, what do you say?
Yeah, so I like Houston. I like the under as well. I just think that this Houston defense is the best defense that Purdue has seen. I just think they're going to have trouble with them. They face teams like Michigan, USC, High Point. These aren't great defensive teams, and Houston's the best. As I said, I think Houston wins the whole thing. I think this is easy for them. They're going to smother that Purdue offense.
I'll tell you what I do like about the under is the fact that these guys are playing at Lucas Oil Stadium. And we've talked about that before a couple shows ago about these teams that are going in. Of course, these teams both play in big arenas, 18,000 or whatever. But when you go to an arena that seats 80,000, whatever, 65, whatever it is at Lucas Oil, it's a football stadium. The sight lines are a little bit different. The shooting background is different. It could definitely take them at least a half to adjust. The thing that impresses me about Houston, not only do they allow the least points in the nation, they're the best shooting. They're the best 3-point shooting team in the nation as well. That should be a deadly combination. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see what Mark has to say about this. Mark, you like this Cougars team?
I don't know. I just can't get 2022 and 2023 Purdue out of my mind. I know what happened last year. It was very nice. They made a nice run, but I don't see how they're going to beat Houston. Houston. And I agree, Houston has a really good chance to go all the way.
All right, very good.
I mean,
for me, I think this is just and you can tell which games I've capped and which ones I haven't really looked at yet. But just first glance at this one, I think Purdue's been doing it with mirrors. They've had a nice run. They were able to get past, like I said, UC San Diego, and they had a really nice game, almost a perfect game against Texas A&M. But they were able to keep the Aggies shooting 38%. I think Houston's going to shoot a little better than that. So I'm gonna take the Cougs to cover that number. So all right, so let's talk about real quick here as we go through. Wes, tell me your Final Four. Tell me your national champion.
Well, I have Duke and Texas Tech in the championship game, with Duke winning.
Okay.
In fact, I think I actually had Michigan. I forget. I haven't even looked at my bracket in days because I was done in the second round.
I feel that.
But I think I had Michigan. Who was the other team? I'm trying to figure out even how to get to my bracket right now. I know I had Duke and Texas Tech in the championship game. I think Michigan was in my Final Four. And I can't. I'll look. Well, maybe Tom could tell you his. I'll look and see if I can find it real quick.
Yeah. So I have Houston beating Duke, and then I have Texas Tech beating. I forget. I think Alabama. I still think it's going to be Houston, Texas Tech for the championship, with Houston winning.
The Battle of Texas. They're in.
Yep.
Were they in San Antonio this year?
Is it? It might
Is
be.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that would be.
So. Is that going to be? Is that going to be in the Alamo Dome? The old football or the?
I would.
Is it going to be in the? Because it's not going to be at the Spurs arena, because that's a basketball arena. Don't they always do it in a football arena?
Yeah. It must be in the Alamo Dome. Who plays in the Alamo Dome?
They have had football games. They've had preseason football games there. I remember I've seen a couple of football games there before.
Who's the main tenant?
Well, I think the Spurs played there before they opened the SBC Global.
Yeah,
arena.
correct.
Okay, all right, solid. So that'd be something, man, to see the two Texas teams play in the finals there down in San Antonio. Thomas, that's you've got Texas Tech winning it all. Is that what?
Yeah, I have Houston winning it all.
Houston winning it all, beating Texas Tech.
Correct.
All right. Well, guys, let's hear from Mark. Mark, who do you have as your Final Four, and who you have winning it all?
I don't have my brackets here. I have Duke. I like Duke to win it all.
To go through. All right.
But I'd love to see Bruce Pearl too. In the winner's circle.
Yeah. That'd be fun. Okay, guys. So we did the show 2 weeks ago, and I gave you Duke in the East, Tennessee in the Midwest, and who else? I gave you Florida in the West, and Auburn in the South. All four of those teams are still alive.
Got a chance.
I'm not changing a bit.
I told you it was a chalk. It was going to be a chalk tournament.
It was, and I think. I'm going to get Mark's opinion on this in just a second. I think with all the NIL money, it has taken a little bit of the luster off some of these mid-major tournaments, the mid-major teams that, quite frankly, can't afford the kind of players that they have maybe developed and went on to the big bucks at some of the blue blood programs. Mark, what kind of impact do you think NIL money has had on these teams?
I'm not sure yet. Money's always been there. It's just been,
right.
It's just been under the table.
Right on.
I mean, big money has not like this kind of money, but I guess eventually, ultimately, it will benefit. It'll benefit the major schools. Yeah, it has to.
Okay.
The one
Purdue, Michigan State, and BYU. They have a whole bunch of recruited players. They didn't do a transfer portal. So recruiting still works.
Yeah.
At least for now.
Yeah. Of course, those guys, probably a lot of those guys were recruited before NIL, and they were able to establish some loyalty and everything like that. So,
one thing that I do think with NIL that will help the college basketball game is some of these guys won't bail after 1 year. They're going to stay because they're going to make more money staying in college than they will in the NBA. Like Cooper Flagg. If the Wizards get the #1 overall pick, you think he's coming out, or is he going to go back to Duke and get paid more money than he will by the Wizards? You know what I mean? So
I think he's coming out. I
wonder if maybe at some point they might do something like you sign like a 2-year contract or something.
Well, that used to be the case, right? You couldn't.
But do that with with the NIL. Just keep these guys,
Right.
in a good situation, and you're learning, and that would be a lot better, I think, than to see. I mean, you have guys playing for three, different teams now, of course, in their career. It's a little nutty.
Right. Well, and of course now that we got we're finally getting rid of like the COVID guys, but some of the COVID guys with the free year, you were seeing them playing 6 and even 7 years. Yeah. Like Frank Harris, that quarterback from UTSA. I think he's going to collect Social Security next season. So yeah, he was there a minute. So yeah, I think, and that's a great point because I would say for the most part, NBA is going to pay you a little bit more, but it ain't a guaranteed thing for a lot of these guys. And if you're Cooper Flag, I guarantee you those Duke alumni can put together probably a pretty good package.
I don't think it's going to matter with Cooper Flag.
I agree. I think he's coming out either way. But and that was an incredible. He led in points, assists, rebounds, block shots, and steals. Right, all 5 categories.
I think so.
I think it was 4 to 5, and then one he was number 2 in.
And then he was like, he was on the all defensive team as well.
Yep.
I don't know if you're Cooper Flag, you're saying to yourself, I don't know what else I have to learn. Like, well, that's fair enough. So we'll see what happens there. Hey, Mark, before we talk a little baseball here, let's talk about your book. Tell us about it. How, and I know you have a co-author. Tell us how that process went, when you became interested, how long it took you, and most of all, why should we go out and buy it?
Well, hopefully, if you're not a hardcore, basketball fan, you're going to learn some stuff. But basically, it's the histories, of these 7 teams, how they got to where they are. It's a lot of really good ancient history there. I mean, so much fun to go back and talk to, guys like Jeff Mullins, at Duke, and Bucky Waters, and those kind of guys. Dan Israel. That was a lot of fun. But they're stories, and hopefully you come away learning something. There's some wonderful stories about Art Heyman in the book that I didn't even know. Stories about Adolph Rupp's Fab Five back in the late 40s. There's a lot of that kind of stuff in there, and it's college basketball. If you love college basketball, you're going to enjoy it.
Outstanding. Of course, that's available at all the major outlets, the Magnificent Seven, college basketball, Blue Bloods. I highly recommend it. It's a great read, especially if you're a college basketball fan. I've been to 3 of the 7 home courts for that team. I've been Indiana, there in Bloomington. I've been to, of course, Fog Allen, which is about 30 miles from my house. And I've been to Rupp Arena there in Lexington. So it's an atmosphere that's really cool. If you get a chance to go to any of those old arenas, field houses, whatever, I highly recommend it. You'll feel that past, man. You can feel, you see those banners hanging across the ceiling, and you get a little sense of what it might have been like 40, 50 years ago, before the shot clock. So there you go.
In the last 2 years, I made my first pilgrimage to Cameron, and I was at the Dean Dome, and you're right, it's an incredible experience. I still like the Garden.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. You go see St. John games there, and then they had the first round there this year, the first 2 rounds there this year. So yeah, Garden's a great place too. The ultimate events. All right, guys.
I have a question. So Indiana, though, so they're a blue blood, aren't they? I thought their uniforms were like maroon or crimson color, red.
They had to be blue.
The warm-up uniforms are candy stripes.
I mean, all the other ones are blue. All the other schools are blue. All the other 6 they have blue in their uniforms. I didn't
even thought about that. You're absolutely right. Yeah, the other ones, their main color is blue. Mark, did you think about that when you were writing it?
No.
There you go.
No, I mean, we just really went by. They've won 5 titles. 2 with Branch McCracken, and Bobby won 3, and. I don't know what it's going to take for them to get back. They're going to they have a very important decision coming up now, what to do. It seems like nothing has worked, but they'll be back. They'll be back.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wes challenging the old saying that there are no dumb questions. So
No,
you're doing your best, buddy.
James Naismith said that this was the spiritual homeland of basketball, Indiana.
All right.
And I'm not going to argue with the founder.
Fair enough.
When you
Now
said
it's a
Indiana,
football town.
when you said Indiana, I thought you were going to say Indiana State, the Sycamores, because they have blue.
Oh, yeah. Well, they had a good player once upon a time.
Yeah, they got there. They have one more Final Four appearance than Mizzou has. So.
Oh, that's amazing.
God,
That's an amazing stat.
Heartbreaking. It's just absolutely heartbreaking. All right, guys, let's switch gears and talk about some Major League Baseball teams that wear blue. We'll go through them real quick, division by division. Wes, we're gonna go machine gun style here, buddy, because we're looking at an hour. But I promise some baseball, we're gonna do it. American League East, who wins it and why?
I think the Yankees. They're just battle tested. They went there last year. I think that they're going to get back. I think Aaron Judge has another monster year. Give me the Yankees.
Very good. AL Central.
I like the Tigers. In fact, I have a whole write up here I could read. It's just too long, but I like the Tigers to win the division plus 270.
Okay.
AL West. AL West. The Mariners, I think, can make some noise. I'll go with the Mariners there. They made some good off-season additions. They just signed Cal Raleigh to a big contract. Their catcher, he's one of the leaders in the clubhouse. So give me the Mariners there. You want National League too?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to go Dodgers just because I can.
Right.
NL Central.
Minus 800. Way to step out there, buddy.
Yes, yes, indeed. Hey, World Series is like plus 220 or something, though. So
all right.
I guess they got to get all the way to the World Series, though. NL Central. I like the Reds, man. The Reds could be sneaky good this year. There's a lot of sharps on the Reds, and I kind of agree. The AL East. I'm going to step out. I'm sorry, Tom. I know you want me to say the Phillies, but I'm going to say the Mets, man. I think Soto's addition is going to be really good for that club. So give me the Mets to win the NL East.
All right, you're throwing out some good numbers there, buddy. Mets are plus 220. Reds are plus 440. So yeah, you can pay for that Dodgers bet, man. Very good. Tommy, who you got?
Yep. So AL East, like Wes, I like the Yankees. I also think that Judge is going to have a big year. I think the pieces that they added are nice. I'm not too worried about their starting pitching. Their bullpen's fine. I like your Royals for the Central. I just like what they've done offensively. I think they're going to be a powerhouse this season. The West, I like the Rangers. Same reason. I think their offense is going to be really, really good. They won. They missed the playoffs last year. They'll be a lot better this year. NL West, I actually like the Diamondbacks. They were the offensive team last year. They strengthened up their pitching. They have a decent bullpen. They have a great defense. I'm with Wes on the Reds to win the Central. I just like the price. Tito Francona should get this team together. I actually think in 3 years they're going to be a World Series contender. And then, yes, of course, I'm talking the Phillies. They're the experienced team. They have a great starting pitching, great offense. Defense and bullpen may be a problem. Injuries as well, but I'm riding with my Phillies.
Okay, very good. Mark, you have any thoughts on baseball?
Yeah, I've mainly been focused more on basketball, and I'm a New York Giant football fan, so those are, I got enough issues with that. But I live a mile and a half from Citi Field, so I don't see anybody beating the Mets in the National League East.
Okay.
I like a Subway Series. I think we're going to see one.
All right.
2025, and it's going to be great.
All right, very solid. Any other thoughts on the other divisions, or are you just staying close to home?
I'm staying close to home. Again, baseball hasn't started for me yet. It's still winter here.
Yeah, that's fair. The man's giving us the World Series teams. What else do you want from it? There you go. I was wondering if you were a Mets or a Yankees guy.
I like the Mets in 6.
Okay, very good. That's what we call gold pick. Now you can get a good price on that. I guarantee it. If you can find that bet right now, Mets in 6 in April, absolutely, you bet the hell out of that. All right, so I'll go through here real quick. You know what? Oh man, I wanted to say the Orioles. No, it's the Yankees. The Orioles will be pretenders until about the middle of August, and then you're like, oh yeah, it's the Yankees. They're going to do their thing. In the AL Central, I like the Tigers. I want to pick my Royals at plus 310, but man, that is a weak ass outfield as far as hitting goes. I would be stunned if that outfield together hit 35 home runs, and that's just not good. The pitching was great last year. I think it takes a step back. I don't think that Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo are going to be have the kind of seasons that they had last year. So I'll take the Tigers, kind of an up and coming team there in the Central. The West is probably one of the more wide open divisions. I like the Rangers to bounce back there at plus 190. I think we're catching a good price on a good team there. And the NL East, you know what? That juicy price of plus 220 on the Mets is just too hard to avoid. The Braves are always up there just because they're the Braves, but I think they've taken a step backwards this year. Phillies are going to be tough, but I think the Mets can get them. In the Central, Cubs are the favorites. No, sir, not in my lifetime. I'm going to put a sprinkle on the Reds just because of the price, but I think the Brewers are probably the team that gets home at plus 270 there. And I'll take the field in the NL West. Yes, the Dodgers minus 800, Padres plus 11, Diamondbacks plus 12, and then the Giants and Colorado are apparently also teams that play in that division. You get the Rockies at 500 to 1. Anybody going to throw a dollar on that?
No, but I do like San Francisco Giants tomorrow. I also like the over. Jump on that.
Okay. All right, very good. All right, boys, that's it. And as always, we want to thank you guys for showing up and checking all this out with us. Don't forget to stop by hitthepick.com. All kinds of great deals going on there for the baseball season, for the basketball season, such as it is. I've been on a little bit of an NBA run lately, so if you want to bet some basketball that's a lot more unwatchable than the college, check out the NBA. Yeah, I guess that's it. I want to thank everybody for being here. Wes, as always, thanks very much. Hope you have fun out there in Vegas. Tommy, I know you're going to be doing some mini vacations and then a big vacation, so have a good time there. We'll be doing Hit the Track this week, but then next week we will not be doing Hit the Track, right?
This week we'll be there. Next week we'll be there. The week after we will not.
Okay, so two more weeks we're good.
Martinsville, Darlington, then we're off.
We're gonna miss Bristol. Is Bristol next?
Yeah, unfortunately we are gonna miss Bristol.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah,
heartbreaking.
Sorry.
So yeah, make sure you tune in every Friday afternoon at 5:30 Eastern, 4:30 Central. As Tom and I, and usually a very, very good guest or two, break down NASCAR.
Yeah, we have Full Tank with Phil. So anybody who's a NASCAR fan knows he is. So
okay, full Tank with Phil coming up. And last but certainly not least, I want to thank our special guest this week, Mark Miller, who did an excellent job with some insights on college basketball. I highly recommend picking up his book for yourself. Pick up a copy for a friend. Don't be one of those cheap ass people who get it from the library. Don't do it. Just go buy the book. Go buy you a book. Make a $20 bet, win it. Go buy the book. All right, that's what I'm saying. Mark, any final thoughts on the tournament before we get out of here?
Nope, it's a good time of year. It's a lot of fun.
It really is. It used to be. I hate that they've moved the baseball season up because that weekend used to be the best. You had the two semifinal games on Saturday, you had the finals on Monday night, and you also had opening day on Monday afternoon. But again, it was too great. Everybody loved it, so of course they had to fix it. So there you go. That's my old man yells at clouds moment for the day. Brought to you once again by Hit the Pick. Old man yells at clouds. Hitthepick.com. All right, guys. Thanks very much. I've had a lot of fun today. Mark, once again, thanks for joining us. Wes, Tom, you guys go out there, make some money, have some fun. And we'll be back next week as we do the Hit the Pick Founders Show. We'll break down the Final Four, get a little deeper into baseball, and we'll welcome Loud and David back to the show, as well as most likely your friend and mine, Sean Higgs. So you guys take care. Until next week, let's go out there and beat the books, and we'll talk about it next time. Take care, everybody.
Let's cash some tickets.